Welcome to Building People, Companies, and Careers, brought to you by AccruePartners. I'm Amy Pack.
And I'm Patty Comer. We're your host on this journey through the vibrant business landscape in the Queen City.
This podcast is an extension of our mission statement at AccruePartners, where we have spent over 20 years fostering connections and building relationships.
Whether you're a client, candidate, or business influencer in Charlotte, this podcast is for you.
We are immensely grateful for your support throughout our journey, and now through this podcast, we're excited to share the stories that have defined our path.
So let's dive in.
Let's do it. Welcome back to Building People, Companies, and Careers, brought to you by AccruePartners. I'm your host, Amy Pack. At AccruePartners, we are passionate about bringing together clients, candidates, and consultants, as well as thought leaders shaping the landscape in Charlotte and throughout the Carolinas. Today, I could not be more excited to have our very own Brianna Anderson with us, who is our Director of Business Operations and Performance. Brianna has been with us for 7 years, and the impact that she has had both on our culture and our growth has been very meaningful. Welcome, Brianna.
Very excited to be here. Shall we dive in?
We're here. Okay, so Brianna, we like to start off with our famous tell me about yourself question, which is what we always suggest in interviews. So why don't you start with that?
Perfect. Well, I have been with Accrue for about 7 years. On a whim, I decided, hey, let's make a change. I didn't know anybody in the Charlotte area. I didn't have a job lined up when I decided to make this switch, which is very unlike me. Luckily, I got a call from a recruiter at AccruePartners and said that they had a payroll opening. I said, absolutely, let's do this. Fortunately enough, I got the job. Started at AccruePartners back in 2018. But definitely gave my parents a heart attack in the meantime. They had no idea how I was going to make it out, especially with no job at the time of my decision. So
you had faith in yourself, and that's what's important.
I did. And, things have been working out. So 7 years, I grew my career. I recently got married. So all of the building blocks are kind of coming together.
That they are. It's amazing to see your career grow over 7 years. It's been very remarkable. So, thinking back, you did start I remember your interview process, but what I think was really more interesting, it's really hard to find someone that had industry experience, and you came from a global competitor to a regional firm, which brought a lot of value. And as we were preparing for this, I didn't think about it, but there was a lot of significance there.
Yeah, and that decision actually came pretty easily. I didn't think I was going to stay in the industry, but when I interviewed with AccruePartners, it was women-owned. It was a small business. I knew that I can excel here, more so because I wasn't on a payroll team of 15 to 20 people. I was really going to be the only one managing the process with a lot of room for growth. I didn't see that as an option really anywhere else that I had been looking. You would kind of be a small fish in a big pond versus big fish in a small pond.
Yeah. So you've been in the industry longer than the 7 years due to your prior employment. So at AccruePartners in the talent solution space, our tagline is building people, companies, and careers, hence the name of the podcast. When you think about building people, companies, and careers, what comes to mind?
Personal connection. At my prior company, like I mentioned, it was a big company, so everyone was kind of a small fish. You didn't have that personal connection with any of your candidates, any internal people really, or our clients. You're kind of sheltered from all of that. So here you really get to have those interactions and see how impactful AccruePartners can be. I've been able to communicate with everybody, internally, with our clients, with our consultants, and to be able to hear their feedback and how appreciative they are.
Right.
You really align to the building companies or people, companies, and careers just off of experience with that and having those connections.
Yeah. So that's a great lead in. So you started in payroll. Now you lead operations. When you look back over these 7 years, you have done tremendous work. You've had a tremendous impact. You're also talking to a lot of our vendors that really help us keep the ship moving. But what were some of the defining moments?
Defining moments, honestly, I think it was that mental shift. When I first started here, I was heads down. I didn't talk to anyone. I was really just trying to understand my role and excel at my role versus thinking of the bigger picture, and how I could grow personally. Throughout the process in the last 7 years, my leaders have really pushed me. I mean, yourself and Patty have pushed me in ways that I don't think I would have thought I would have asked for personally. So it was really everybody else believing in me and seeing that I could offer more than what I saw in myself. And I think that was huge. It allowed me to kind of propel. I wanted to be better and I wanted to do better. So I sharpened up my skills. I was always wanting to shadow, look at everybody else. I was teaching myself Excel. I didn't really have that kind of knowledge before. So watching webinars, watching videos on YouTube, friends, coworkers teaching me along the way. I think really building that community is what helped me grow and was my defining moment at Accrue.
Great. So in that growth pattern, you started from, again, payroll to leading operations. In there was this thing called COVID. And you took on HR. You had always had a lot of exposure to HR, but you also took classes in HR. There was a lot of things that were thrown at you. When you think back on that piece of your journey, kind of what comes to mind?
Gosh, COVID, I cannot believe that was 4 years ago. That was really kind of a turning point where I challenged myself the most. I came in, having a little bit of experience, but not really being someone who spearheaded in the HR department. COVID was a ton of uncertainty. You didn't know what the next day was going to bring, whether it was new legislation, clients requiring new protocols. Even on the financial side of things, there was, a bunch of legislation and stuff that we were trying to get passed to get funds. And it was really a time where you had to realize that you had to make monumental shifts and things weren't always going to go as they planned, but you need to try to be as proactive as possible, whether it making shift in our original procedures, how that was going to go. There was a lot of research involved, so you really had to have passion for what you were doing to get through it and to really be that forefront. I remember COVID being terrifying because you didn't know what was going to happen, but you have to have the strong leaders to communicate everything and really be open. I feel like that was the first time everyone was vulnerable.
Yeah.
And they were really looking to everyone for guidance, whether it was me taking on the HR role and, I was looking up to you and Patty and how you guys were having those conversations.
There's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah. So that was definitely a challenging time, but I think that was the biggest opportunity for anyone really to grow. It was a whole new landscape.
Yeah. Well, and to get growth, you have to be curious. So people always, comment on your level of curiosity. And when you are curious, you learn new things. And I don't know that, I think curiosity is a trait that you have to work at. And it doesn't always come natural to people. But it seems to come very natural to you. What would you attribute that to?
Honestly, I've always been pretty curious as a kid. I always wanted to get ahead in school and learn more before everybody else. I liked those problem-solving brain teaser games. I think the biggest part of the curiosity was applying it a little bit more and getting out of your comfort zone. So, it's a little outside my nature. I'm kind of shy and recluse by nature, but to really get out there. I would not
agree with that.
It took a bit. I opened up. Once we have a better relationship, I'm a chit chatter. But yeah, I think until I gained my own confidence, that's when I was able to kind of be a little bit more verbal with my curiosity, asking for new responsibilities, asking to learn a new process where, luckily in the very beginning of my career, I was very fortunate where other people saw it around me and were offering up the opportunity versus me having to kind of fight for myself.
Yeah, well, and I think looking back and just working with you, you don't operate in a job description, and your curiosity shows up as you're willing to do things to help the betterment of the business, and your curiosity to learn has helped you excel. If you weren't curious to learn, you wouldn't take on projects, you wouldn't get outside of your comfort zone, and you would just kind of be what I'm going to call putting along. And your ability to get outside of your comfort zone and be curious has certainly served you very well.
Well, perfect. I mean, I definitely make it a point. I understand that there's definitely going to be tasks that some people don't want to handle. It might be mundane, or people might think it's below them. Really, you're here to work with your peers. You're here to help the business. I feel like if you don't align with those values, then, I mean, you're kind of a paper pusher and you're not going to get very far.
Right.
Right.
So at AccruePartners, we talk a lot about our core values. Our tagline is super important, and our core values are very important. And so I thought, since our episode is about your career and the culture at AccruePartners, we would talk about the core values and what they mean to you and how they show up in the work and the impact that you've had. So winning together is obviously a big one. And you've had a big impact, as I said before, on both the culture and the growth of the company. But when you think about winning together, how does that show up to you in your day-to-day?
Yeah, I mean, I have a very strong team right now. I've been very fortunate, but we work together. I think you have to trust your peers and respect your peers. And, as a leader, I feel like I have to see them grow, and we're working on stuff together. So, they have skill sets that are definitely stronger than maybe some of mine. For instance, I do not have a created or visual bone in my body. So, when I'm working on something and I kind of need to make it a little bit more presentable, I can rely on Caitlin or Amanda or Sarah to kind of help me through the process where, I'm not holding the keys to the kingdom. You need to work as a team versus as an individual.
Everybody brings something different to the table.
Exactly. And it's really going to be the only way to get other people's mindsets and their opinions on things to kind of make sure that it is the best work or the best process or the best way to do something.
Right. So I guess the next core value that I wanted to speak about is being better than yesterday. So you're leaning on others to win together. It creates collaboration, which allows us all to be better than yesterday. We're always looking at ways to improve our processes, to be more efficient in the day-to-day business, and that changes with the market and technology. But when you think about being better than yesterday, what are things that you do to incorporate that?
Yeah, so, coming into some of these different roles, I didn't have hands-on experience. So, webinars really became handy, especially during the COVID situations, kind of learning up and using my resources that were available. I think part of it too is the only way that I could grow personally is if I kind of tailored a lot of my skills or tried to look at things in ways that I can make it a little bit more efficient. So, most people operate on the mentality, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I had to change my mindset to, is there a better way to do something? Is there a more efficient way to do something? With that, I had self-taught a lot of Excel to myself, which really allowed me to make my reports better, make them more repeatable, make them easier for others to learn and understand as well, which allowed me to kind of make more of an impact elsewhere and put my needs where they need to. So
has this mentality with you of being better than yesterday always been part of the fabric of how you've operated, or has that just come with time?
Definitely. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so I'm more tough on myself than I think a lot of people are on me. So I personally want to be better than I was yesterday, last month, last year. And I think that kind of goes back to a little bit of challenging yourself and being a little curious, how can I be better?
Right. So early on, you were talking about relationships, both internally and externally, with clients, candidates, and, vendors that we work with. In investing in relationships is at the core of AccruePartners. And we've always talked about that. for the 23 years. Candidates are clients, clients are candidates, but even in your role, you touch so many things. At your core, how do you feel that what you're doing is impacting the relationships in which we have?
Yeah. So, I think my relationships with the vendors, it helps us get top tier service. If we escalate something, we'll get an answer pretty quickly. The relationships that we've been building with our consultants, whether it's through onboarding or should they have a situation arise, they're looking to us for help. Being able to be that person to kind of step in and help, whether it's from our HR side or it's from our delivery team, trying to help them find a role. You see a lot of value in it, especially when they reach out and they are like, thank you so much. My world has changed.
Right.
It could be something so small. I mean, I've had consultants send us Christmas pictures of their grandkids and their kids, which is something that you would never expect to happen. We've gotten emails from our consultants on how appreciative they've been just to have somebody to talk to. Something comes up, they need something in a pinch, and we're right there. I think internally building those relationships, you have to be able to trust your peers, and that's really the only way that you can grow as a company too. So, anything you can do to invest in your relationships so that way you guys have a stronger bond to get any situation handled. We actually started a book club with the ladies of Accrue, which guilty of not actually reading the book. But it's a great way to kind of connect with everybody and, really foster those relationships so you can operate as one.
Yeah, I love the comment that you made about our consultants. You build a relationship with them, right? And they come back to you and you realize the impact that we as a whole at AccruePartners have made on someone's life, right? If they're willing to share pictures of their personal family with you, that says a lot. And that is super important to everybody. And I do think it's something that we really stress here. Our internal relationships are important. Our candidates are important and our clients are important. And it's where we bring all of that together. So thanks. I didn't know they were doing that. So I learned something new today as well. You've taken a lot of diverse roles and you're passionate about what you do. You're curious. You're a perfectionist, as you said. What is it about working with passion and purpose that you just exude that? I mean, all of this just keeps coming up. But when you think of working with passion and purpose, where did that show up, I guess, first in your career?
I definitely would say that I'm more passionate about my role at AccruePartners than I have been in past roles. I really see myself aligning and understanding the values of Accrue, whereas, my other roles, I was just like, this is a job, this isn't a career. So I think really aligning with the company and aligning with the leaders, that makes a huge difference. For me, the people that I work with every day, whether it's, my internal close team or it's our sales team or it's our delivery team, I like who I work with. So I think if I didn't have that, it might be a little bit of a different story, but I find a lot of passion in what I do because I can tell I'm making a difference. I want to see my team grow as well. So I can see a difference in their career paths. If I wasn't able to see the difference or understand the difference or see or feel the value of what I'm doing, it could be a different conversation. But I think, I love what I do. I love the people, which kind of allows me to have that passion.
Yeah, well, you seem to stay very true to the mission. And I always say you got to pay it forward. So, and this rings true with any role at AccruePartners. Someone trained that person. So when someone else comes on board, what are you doing to invest in them? And people invested in you, and you've taken upon yourself to recognize that. And now you're investing in your team so that they can continue to learn and grow. So I do think that says a lot. So as the director of business process and operations, you see so much in the company. You see payroll, HR, the financials, what the recruiters do, what the salespeople do, a lot of our vendors. You see where everything is really connecting the dots. But how do you align your approach as it relates to people, process, and culture at AccruePartners?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me was understanding the why. I know that you preach on this time and time again, but really I didn't understand how everybody connected at Accrue or how the whole process went until I really understood the why behind the stuff that I was doing. That's something that you don't always get to see, especially at a bigger company. Like, I love AccruePartners because I was able to see how everything I was doing was impacting not only the business, but impacting other people's roles.
Right.
So I think being open in the communication and almost over communicating kind of helped align me with all of that. I take time to ensure that my colleagues understand the why of what something that might seem so minuscule is so important, or how it's changing something. I think that does change the way that people view on things, and it really has people respect leadership if they understand more, if there's more communication surrounding it.
Mm-hmm. Great. So reflecting back and advice, and this is be really interested to hear what you say here, but reflecting back on your 2018 self 7 years ago, what advice would you give her?
Well, definitely speak up. I was a recluse at my desk. I didn't talk to a lot of people when I first moved here. I didn't know anyone when I moved here.
And you moved here from
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Yep. So, I kept my head down, and that's not truly the best way to operate. I never managed up or spoke up when I got bored or if I wanted to take on something new. I was fortunate enough where my leaders, both you and Patty as well, recognized that I could be doing more and kind of challenged me and prompted that conversation. But that's not how the world operates. So definitely manage up, speak up. If you want to do more, ask for it. I also, I moved here without a plan, and I didn't network. I didn't want to use my network. I thought that was kind of deter me from being, an individual, and that I wanted to see like I did this myself. Versus using the help of everyone else. And that also, I would never give that advice to somebody. Network, do everything that you can. Your community helps build you who you are as a person, and you cannot grow if you don't have anybody in your corner.
Right.
Everybody's using their resources to find their next role, educate themselves a little bit more, get more involved. I don't know why I had the mindset that I could do it without networking, or that I didn't need a network to do anything, or I didn't want to use my network. But use your network.
Yeah. Hey, it's true. And your network, the more you use and work your network, the bigger your network grows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So looking ahead and what's next in the next chapter, what excites you most about both yourself and AccruePartners?
Yeah. So, I have worn a lot of different hats here. And I think I'm ready for a little bit more of a better understanding. I've dabbled in the finance side. I just really want to master and have a full understanding of how all of that connects. That's kind of my missing building block. So looking forward to that. I'm excited to see where AccruePartners goes. We've been through a lot in 7 years. We've made a lot of shifts. We've made a lot of intentional changes.
Right.
And, we always come back on top. We always, there's always a plan behind everything. And, we're led by two very strong people, which, the opportunities are endless. So,
yeah. I love how you said intentional changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we never know what the market's bringing, but we do work hard to reflect on the business and what the opportunities can be. Yeah. And we are very intentional about what we try to do. And that's what makes it exciting, to try to get to that next milestone.
Yeah. And being able to pivot and shift on a minute's notice, there's a plan behind it, but you have to be versatile. You have to adapt. And I feel like we've collectively as a company and as individuals in this company, we've been able to do.
Yeah, it takes a village.
Yep.
So, all right. So I think now we will move on to the rapid fire questions.
Oh gosh. All right.
So here we go. So what is your first career memory?
Cold calling.
Cold calling. Where was
yes,
that at?
I took a summer job with my dad with his friend's company, and I was cold calling for information. I was calling CEOs, COOs, people who did not want to talk to someone right in college, asking
cold calling
them
for what?
I was updating their database. So asking to see if these people were still the head honchos over at the company, that my email address that I had for them and the phone number was accurate. Did not get a lot of pleasant responses. So I think that kind of shot my career in sales.
Okay. Well, at least you gave it a try.
Yep.
Okay. So who is your worst or your best or worst boss?
Gosh, well, my worst boss, definitely my father. He thinks I do everything pro bono. He owes me. I will invoice you. And best, I mean, definitely Joanne. She's been there through my entire career,
right.
Really. You know, she took a chance. She really allowed me to kind of step in and gain additional responsibility, sometimes without asking.
Yeah, that's great. She has been a great leader for you.
Yep.
She teaches you, but then pushes you to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So when looking back, what career advice do you wish you had when you first started out?
Career advice when I first started, definitely. I mean, I keep going back to this network because I rejected it. I did not want to use my network. I'm glad where I really ended up, but I could have used my network to at least kind of help me along some of the challenges that I've had in my career. So
that has been a theme.
Yeah.
But hey, at least you've reflected back and you know going forward to keep your network going.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So what saying are you known for?
Ooh. I preach that, you know, this can go one of two ways.
You do say that.
I know.
That you say that.
It's kind of annoying, but, you know, things really can. You kind of have to prepare for both sides of a situation.
Yeah.
You know, I know it's annoying, and most of the time my answers on how it can go are very unreasonable and outlandish, but, you know, it really has you thinking on, hey, what could go wrong and how can I fix that? Or, you know, this is the path that I'm shooting for. So
that's great. And last but not least, what is your favorite restaurant in Charlotte?
Capo Fish Taco. Every Sunday.
Every Sunday?
Yep.
Okay. In which location do you go to?
I go to the Ballantyne one.
Okay.
So I've been to the Noda one. It's just not as close to me, but
yeah,
love the Ballantyne
What's your
one.
favorite thing on the menu since you go every Sunday?
I've never strayed. I get the lemon grilled shrimp tacos, cheddar mashed potatoes, pomegranate margarita, then take a nice little walk around the Beltline.
There you go. That sounds like a wonderful Sunday. Well,
Yeah.
Great. Well, Brianna, I appreciate you being on the podcast. I appreciate everything you do for AccruePartners and the impact you're making both on the growth and the culture. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me, and thanks for allowing me to grow here.
Of course.